Now, there are three kinds of writers: those who plan ahead and those who don't. And they all approach storytelling their own way. Some rely on outlines and scene breakdowns. Others rely on instinct and character bios. They all end with the same dynamic story. It's my enduring belief that every movie adheres to the exact same 29-point story structure, no matter which type of writer pens the tale. Joker is my Exhibit B. A tight focus on the core elements of the protagonist's personality, inner conflict, and situation. The radio broadcast acts as a symbolic voiceover to Arthur's own inner conflict. Garbage is piling up, and nobody knows what to do about it. Arthur at work, thoroughly enjoying himself in his proto-Joker clown outfit, green hair and all. His general helplessness to protect himself from the random human garbage walking the streets. We are introduced to several more core elements to Arthur's conflicted personality: his inability to cry without laughing, his notebook journal, and his laundry list of medications. Where, why, and how the protagonist exists in their world, with a focus on why they don't quite fit in. Despite Arthur's earnest attempts to live a normal life, the world around him is thoroughly creeped out by his existence. Trudging through the city is an uphill battle for him, despite feeling like a steady decline. He's anchored in place as caretaker of a largely helpless, let's call her mother figure, and all he wants is love and acceptance. Now, in typical feature films, these first two sequences are wrapped up in the first 9 minutes or so, allowing for the exciting incident to launch the story. But character studies, and this movie is absolutely a character study, tend to linger in the protagonist's setup, which is why we're now 15 minutes into the movie with only a mild amount of forward momentum. A singular event that's never happened before, and is destined to lead the protagonist away from their status quo. A coworker directs an emotion other than contempt, and gives him a gun for protection. The gun. The one that launches Arthur into the clown prince he was destined to become. An examination of what's different in light of the something new, what's the same in spite of it, and how it deepens the conflict with the status quo. Defenseless Arthur can't convince his own boss, who likes him, that he's innocent of a theft charge, and his frustration bubbles up into a smile, though no laughter, as if his stronger medication is kinda sorta working. At least he's not laughing, right? Miming a gunshot to the head to a crazy person who's having a bad day might have been brushed off any other time, but Arthur can feel the weight of a real revolver in his pocket. The discovery that things are less than ideal, or an exploration of how badly things are. This scene is kind of a twofer. It's off that he's just staring down into his mother's bathwater, sure, but we also get a taste of how toxic she is by flat out telling a professional clown that he's not funny. The confidence Arthur derives from the gun manifests in a way that's unabashedly his own. He's shocked by the gunshot, and he's humiliated back in his station in life with two heartbreaking words: "Sorry, Mom." Stalking definitely qualifies as a miss. Don't at me about this one. The protagonist dedicates their effort to a specified goal, which is almost always smaller in scope or scale to the primary objective that dominates the third act. Despite his mother and therapist's dismissals, Arthur focuses on his stand-up craft. In much the same way I take notes for this channel. Domino confronts him about following her, which he smoothly transitions into a date. Wow, didn't even know he had it in him. A brief checklist of the story elements needed for the second act, and how they might be utilized. The gun, the consequences of carrying the gun, joblessness, aimlessness, human garbage, and oh yeah, murder. The singular event that launches the protagonist into the wild jungle of the second act, also called an oh shit moment. Recalling his unabashed confidence, Arthur now feels powerful. Oh shit. He lets the emotions wash over him as he's pulled along through his clown college Tai Chi. This changes everything. The protagonist must learn all new rules and expectations distinct to this adventure. The first thing he does is get some nookie. Damn, she opened that door quick. Maybe he called ahead. He clears out his locker, showing a little backbone against the other clown's teasing. And then he's shown elitist reactions to the street level reactions of his violent reaction in the subway. This displeases him. The protagonist showcases their ability to grow in the areas this adventure requires, typically through external means. Arthur engages confidently with his therapist, even calling her burnout. And although the sudden loss of all his medication may seem like a negative blow, it's actually positive progress towards his Joker persona. And off-screen, he signs up for an open mic night, prepares, and faces his recently unmedicated anxiety to show up at the club. Characters face legitimate and understandable reasons to deviate from their stated convictions, agendas, and desires. Arthur faces immediate stage fright and fights through it. He descends into cry laughing, which we haven't seen since his medication was bumped up, and he fights through it. He fights through it all to stay on track with bringing laughter and joy to this cold, dark world. And this whole sequence turns into a test of resolve to differentiate a happy fantasy from a depressing reality, which he largely fails. A tightly packed series of problems that vex the protagonist at damn near every turn. In a good mood, he tries to have a positive experience with his mother, which she resists, which only mildly dampens his mood. Then he finds out who his father is, well, allegedly, then endures a screaming match with his mother. The protagonist evolves internally by utilizing everything they've gathered and learned. Arthur wades into the world of the rich in a decidedly nicer public train than before. Is this his birthright? He adds his new family to his joke diary, uses his clown background to connect with his alleged kid brother, though thankfully without the gun, then uses his post-murder persona to force his agenda, though he stops short in light of a witness. Journey-weary characters reconcile the reality of their ongoing situation with who they were in the first act. The caretaker wasn't home when he was needed. Arthur is directly asked to recount his pre-murder days in light of the subway murders. He confesses to the crime so easily later on, yet stiffens up with the cops because he suspects their involvement in his mother's stroke. Family first. A singular event that strikes at the protagonist's core conflict. With the future of his caretaker role in question, he staves off loneliness and aimlessness by slipping further into his delusions. There's no turning back from here. Characters find a safe harbor that also provides needed answers for both external and internal conflicts. Arthur's de facto father figure, Franklin Murray, draws his attention. Murray starts out by insulting his not-so-bright son. Then, Murray insults Arthur, and Arthur is faced with steep humiliation at Murray's hands. His mother dies behind him, and his de facto father turns heel before him. Arthur aches for a parent, any parent, no matter how big of a douchebag. He just wants love. And what's a safer harbor for Arthur than a rally of clowns? well, maybe Arkham. The protagonist's clarified objective from the first act is realized in part or in whole, though it's meaningless without the completion of the primary objective. He makes it into the theater in style, classic Joker. Finally gets to meet his father, only to find out he was allegedly adopted. Not a great victory. That's just a bad day, dude. An existential conflict that wounds the protagonist's sense of self, worldly identity, and their journey. He's obviously unwell. Still coping with the loss of his alleged father figure, he is asked to meet his de facto father after the humiliation. He considers a post-murder persona afterlife in Arkham, seemingly coming alive when indirectly confessing to the subway murders. An undeniable win for the protagonist, typically in direct connection to the Rebirth. Arthur finally gets to the truth of it all, and finds nothing but questions to replace questions he won't ever know a parent. In true dark comedy form, this is his reward. A grand loss directly connected to the protagonist's newfound inability to quit the journey. Desperate for warm human contact, Arthur physically goes where his delusions have taken him before, and everything starts to unravel. A thematic freefall tied directly to the heavy price. His fateful psychotic snap contrasts the caretaker from the first act to the killer created in the second. He rehearses his suicide, a killer who kills himself. Hilarious. A singular event that robs the protagonist of seemingly any chance of success. Arthur's suicide will not be the sensational joke he thinks it will be. The protagonist cannot return to their starting persona and must turn to face the primary objective. The final transformation into the Joker begins, all in preparation to kill himself. And what's this? One well-earned murder on the way out? Just one for the road? Just be nice to people, please. The protagonist moves toward the climax while utilizing the major swings and sneaky misdirections of the story. This isn't the Joker dancing to his suicide. This is Arthur relishing the kill like he did in the bathroom scene. This is Arthur in costume, untethered. Gotham's finest catch up with Arthur again. Back to the subway, which is now filled with clowns. Then Arthur marches to his showdown. The final confrontation between the protagonist and the antagonistic force. An unexpectedly warm reception. The reminder of why he's there. The joy slips away and he's all pain. This is it. We lingered much longer in the opening sequences to properly introduce the character for this study. And likewise, in the culmination of his journey, we linger in this sequence over twice as long as any other in the movie. He relishes his final few minutes. The moment Arthur flips from suicide mission to the Joker. The singular event where the protagonist finally confronts their place in the status quo. The Joker becomes an icon. The direct aftermath of the climax. The cinematic denouement, if you will. The Joker is pleased with his delivery of the punchline. The aftermath, including the arrest of Arthur. The consequences of the climax in relation to other characters and the status quo. Gotham is burning. and they found their anti-hero. A tight focus on the protagonist contrasted from the opening. He's truly happy, and people love him. Don't sell Gotham PD short, because they still managed to apprehend Arthur from the middle of a riot where he was a god. Or did that part even happen? Did any of this even happen? All that's left in this shell of a broken man is the Joker. And there you have it, my second example to support my argument that all movies follow the exact same structure, regardless of how the writer approaches their craft. Joker exemplifies the 29-part story structure, but it's not alone. Does this dramatic character study keep to the same outline as a fast-paced ensemble heist from 20 years ago? Yes, it does. Please subscribe to stay up to date with this and future videos, and please like and comment with your thoughts and reactions. I'll talk at you next time.